I'm going to show you 5 super easy tricks that will instantly make your chords sound cleaner, smoother, and more professional. Let's get into it. Most beginners try to land their whole chord at once, but by doing that, it can sound quite messy. So here's the trick. Just land that root note first, right? And the rest of the chord will just fall behind it. That way, the sound can lock in straight away, and it will get rid of this messy guitar playing. So the root note is normally the lowest note on the chord you're playing. So if you're playing a C major here, the root note will be the C there, right? If you're playing a G major, the root note will be the G there, and so on. So by doing this trick, guys, focusing just on playing the root note first, it makes your guitar playing a lot cleaner and it keeps the pulse going, right? So what I'll do, I'll demonstrate quickly right now that some beginners can do when they're changing chords. They wait for their fingers to be perfect. Right, so you can hear that kind of stop-starting kind of motion. What I'm going to do now is just plant that root note and let the rest of the chord just kind of trickle out, all right? So if you do find yourself trying to plant all your fingers down at the one time while you're playing a chord, I recommend just try hitting that root note and do it with every chord that you're playing, right? It's a really good trick to do because it doesn't matter if your fingers are a split second late, right? Because the root note makes us sound intentional, okay? And most importantly, it keeps the groove going. Another great trick to use, particularly when you're changing chords, is anchoring your fingers on some of those chords, right? Particularly if you're sharing the same strings. So if I'm going from a G to a D here, I know that I'm sharing my third finger, which is my ring finger, between those two chords, right? So I can just keep that third finger planted. Right, because I'm sharing that same chord. So that's anchoring down your finger between chords. You can do this with a lot of chord changes. Good ones from a C major to an F major, right? I know that I'm sharing my index finger here on that same chord. All I've got to do is anchor that finger down on the B string here and just move my other two fingers right down, right? A lot of beginners, they tend to lift all their fingers, plant them again, lift all their fingers and change chords. But if you can get used to the habit of anchoring down those fingers that are sharing chords, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. So you can see here, just keeping that index finger down. I'm not lifting them all up, you know. You don't want to do that. You want to kind of just anchor those fingers down that share chords. Makes your playing a hell of a lot easier. Another great trick to level up your chords is to mute certain strings for control, right? So what a lot of beginners tend to do is that they strum all their strings at once, no matter what chord they're playing. And to be honest, it doesn't sound great with certain chords. It can make your chord playing sound quite messy. So for example, if I'm strumming a D here, I don't want to strum all the strings, you know, because that low E just gets in the way. So a great trick here is to get used to muting your strings with your thumb, all right? Get that thumb involved. So wrap it around the top of the fret, the top of the neck here, and just gently touch it where it's dead. So now you've got a dead string there. So now you can strum your D. Right, you could do this with a bunch of chords. You can do it with a C major as well, right? You don't want that low E in there getting in the way of your C, so you just gently bring your thumb over the top here and just mute that low E string and strum. Right, you can do it with the same with an A minor. Just sounds very heavy with that E. Bring it over. It's a really good trick to get used to your thumb. It's not only just for muting strings. I use my thumb all the time, particularly because I tend to cramp a little bit in the hand. So I, you know, instead of kind of barring chords a lot of the time, I like to wrap my finger around the top and play like that, particularly when I'm playing an F. You know, I just find it easier. So yeah, get in the habit of kind of getting your thumb around the top there and muting some of those strings when you need to. So here's a little sneaky one. It's not just about what you play, but it's about how hard you hit it, right? If you're strumming all the chords the same way, it can sound very stiff and robotic, and I'll give you an example how that might sound now. But if you start adding some dynamics into the picture, right? Some light soft touches, you're gonna do some heavier touches, right? Coming in on different strings, the groove's gonna sound much more live and you're gonna sound a lot more musical, okay? So I'm gonna play that same chord, same strumming pattern, but it's gonna sound completely different. And this works with any chords, any shapes, it doesn't matter, guys. I just recommend just experimenting on one chord and just come in on different strings, right? And muck around with some volume changes and get used to that feeling of what dynamics can bring. Honestly, once you work on your dynamics, guys, it makes your chords sound so much more professional. And moving on to our final trick here, guys, and this one's probably the magic sauce, but adding a little hammer-on inside your chord can definitely make it sound much more alive and musical. I do this quite a lot with my live gigs. I just feel like it gives a lot more color and yeah, it just makes it sound, you know, more interesting to the ear. So a good way to practice this is probably on your D chord. You're gonna get your D chord shape here. And all you're gonna do with your middle finger here, you're just gonna hammer on that second fret on the high E string there while you're strumming down. Just get used to that. And another thing, particularly with the D chord here, is getting your pinky involved with the third fret while you're holding that D shape. That's a great hammer on too. You can just kind of alternate lifting that pinky off, lifting the middle finger off on the D, so you can go. Just makes this chord sound a lot more interesting. I also do this trick when I'm playing a C major. So if you hold that C major shape and you lift your middle finger and you're hammering on like that, it just adds a bit more color. You can also do it with an F. Just lifting that middle finger up. The only thing I do want to mention about the hammer-ons, guys, is try not to use them too much. They're a great way to add texture and a bit of color to your playing, but they can be overused too much. So just muck around, experiment with those three chords, you know, the C, F, and D with the hammer-ons, but really be cautious of when to use them and when not to use them. Yeah, but it's a great trick to really level up your chord playing. But you're not adding new chords here, right? You're just trying to give movement to the ones you already know. But give them a crack and see how you go. All right, so there we have it. 5 easy tricks to clean up your chords and to make them sound more professional. Let me know how you get on with them, guys. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you enjoyed this one today, I'd love to hit that subscribe button for me. And like always, thank you for tuning in and watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.